what else?
I have before you a draft procurement card policy, I should say. There are two sections of code that govern the use of credit cards and procurement cards. And for all intents and purposes, this will work and act just like a credit card. But the credit card policy, or the credit card part of the statute, is 301.27. That has a little more limited approach to what you can use, the types of purchases you can make using a credit card in 301.27. Most of the counties have gone the way of using 301.29 for the procurement cards because they can be opened up for effectively any allowable legal purpose under the statute. So this policy has been reviewed by the, in its draft form, has been reviewed by the prosecutor's office, and they're okay with this. Brant and I and Chris and Mike, and I think Mr. Bryanstein and you and that, maybe about 6 weeks ago, okay, maybe 2 months ago now, maybe it was just the staff, we were just in on that, to review this. A couple of things of note here. One, this is a joint policy between the auditor and the commissioners, though the commissioners are the authorizing entity for the credit cards at the end of the day because we're effectively borrowing money. So the commissioners will be the ones that enter into the contract with whomever the awardee would be here. But the policy is designed so that it's jointly managed by the auditor's office and the commissioner's office, and specifically the county administrator and me or each of our designees. This follows all general purchasing guidelines that exist in the county today. So be it for travel, be it for one-off purchases and that, it would follow the exact same procedures, though the vendor is the credit card or the procurement card, the bank at the end of the day, as opposed to Home Depot or American Airlines or whatever, the Radisson, wherever you might be going for any of these. The vendor would be the issuer of the card. And again, having the card does not supplant any of the existing prior approvals that are needed in order to use it. So for your onesie, twosie kind of purchases and that where, Lee's got to go down to the hardware store and buy something because it's quick and easy, we have policies that govern, if he were to have gone out and used his own money to do that. Now we're just using the credit card or the procurement card rather instead. It would follow the same rules that, you would set up as your office or another department might set up as their office for how you go about when you use it, how you use it, and how you would individually get reimbursed. This just, again, supplants that. Same for travel. It's whatever the commissioner's travel policy is, or if another department would have their own travel policy. It would follow the same procedures for when you book, when you pay, cancellations, proper use, things of that nature.
Is it going to have the county seal on it, so it doesn't end up at the Tilda Killer or anything like that?
I don't know if one of the vendors I think can give us, one of the vendors I think can give us a.
I mean, really though, it's going to be identified.
Well, it will say Stark County Government printed on the card with the individual card holder's name on there.
Okay.
So. And in terms of how we manage that, effectively Mike's going to be the quarterback for this, every day in terms of watching the balances, watching the charges. We would anticipate an aggregate limit for the county, probably in the range of $200,000 that we would put out there. And then there are going to be a whole host of cards that go out. You'll have them for your department, I'll have them for my department. Currently, Parks and Health have their own separate cards. They're going to come under, they're going to be issued new cards under this policy. JFS will have theirs, sanitary, whoever else might want to come on board with this. Go ahead.
So who determines who gets them?
Okay, so.
So you're telling me that, since he's sitting here, I won't pick on him,
Yeah.
clerk. He can ask for a card?
He can ask for a card, but jointly, the auditor and the commissioners get to decide who gets them at the end of the day. These are your cards. Don't lose sight of this. This is the commissioner's card at the end of the day. But in terms of, go ahead.
So will they be in the name of Clerk of Court Lou Giovasis?
No, they'll be in the name of Stark County government.
Okay.
Stark County government.
Okay.
And we chose, I think the government name on the card is, it's just generic, because we are going to have several entities that fall outside of the commissioner's direct purview. And that, but like the parks, like the health department.
Are they MasterCards or Visas or?
It depends on,
We don't know yet.
we don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
It will be one of those, though. It will be one of those.
Alan, can you give us in a nutshell the difference between a procurement card and a credit card?
Sure, the credit card under the statute has some very limited abilities that you can spend the money on. Travel, data processing, trying to remember off the top of my
It's a
head.
credit card, you say?
Yeah, the credit card can. The procurement cards is permitted for any legal purpose.
But in essence, they are both credit cards.
They are both
as we
credit
consider
cards.
Credit cards.
In the sense that a user doesn't know the difference between the credit card and a procurement card. It's just nomenclature in the statute is all. So we, again, the procurement cards have a much wider, again, it's any allowable purpose.
But for banking purposes, it is a credit.
It's a credit card.
It is not a debit card where they're taking money out of the treasury when they swipe.
No, not in the least bit. We will get a statement every month, which again, the last part of the draft policy you'll see here is the review where the commissioners, the auditor is required to submit to the commissioners a written report every month on the usage. So as we talked about it, we figured we would just do it in line with the monthly finance meeting too. So you'll see who has a card, what the limits are, things like that. But we have to think about it in a way too, at least, we don't want a big aggregate limit, and we don't anticipate people, all 20 users running up their card at any given time. But where there are some nice features with this are, because, we don't get interest income appreciably anymore. We get some, but not like what we used to, as we were talking about earlier. But like many of the cards, there are rewards that go with this, cash rewards that would come back into the county treasury. So more use, more rewards in that. So where we see this being a benefit to us are with a lot of the recurring charges that get used, and there are some things that then can be done with the limits. The big, for instance, is postage, where Alex uses postage, Lou uses postage, we use postage, you use postage, everybody kind of uses it. So, but we can push all of our postage through the card and get something back for it at the end of the day too.
One of the other things that we've been running into lately is the people that travel out of the county. We should be tax exempt and are. But if the employee is paying with a non-county instrument, non-county check, non-county credit card, personal check, and then being reimbursed, the hotels are not waiving the sales tax because they get hit with their auditors. So that would eliminate that, and
no, it
sure
really,
the savings are there.
No, it really does too. The other thing that we
That
run,
can add up.
the other thing,
20%.
oh sure, on a bill, oh absolutely. Yeah. The other thing that we are constantly trying to be as vigilant as we can on is when employees do get reimbursed on their credit card, their own personal credit card, you're not to be entitled to any rewards on that. So you're not entitled to your Marriott points or your Southwest miles or your Best Buy points or anything like that, which, to be honest, what's that? We get a copy of the credit card with that. But it's an ethics violation because you're working for the government and now you're theoretically getting something of personal use in the end. So we do our best to track that, and so moving to a system like this, should help curb any potential for abuse. Again, we do our best to monitor that. right now. But that's something that sits out there that too just gives us a little better control over what's going on. Just like, Mike goes into the bank every morning to see what goes on, in the bank overnight, or Alex would, or Jamie would, or Rhoda would. The same will be true for the credit cards. We'll be monitoring this, especially in the beginning, really on a daily basis.
What do you foresee, I note here on the policy that number 6 is follow all normal purchase order procedures. Typically that involves approval in advance.
Right, so again,
How are we going to do that?
well, we're going to approve each department that would be issued a card would have a purchase order open to XYZ Bank, whoever the issuer of the credit card is. And just as we have some various vendor type of POs that allow for those occasional purchases or for reimbursement and that, this is done in exactly the same way, where the department will decide, well, I want to have $3,000 open to Chase, and they will draw that down and monitor the spending on that. Chase or X, I just picked Chase, they didn't, but they will then monitor the spending related to that purchase order, related to what they end up paying Chase at the end of the day. And then, if they need more, they'll open another PO for
All
it.
right, on the user end of it, have we come to a place where we've set the limits?
That would be done largely between the Commissioner's office and the Auditor's office. And again, think of,
Have we gotten there?
well, we think about $200,000 is probably the right,
Yeah.
individually.
So you give the card to me, and I go out and what are my limits in what category?
Okay,
If
oh,
I'm
so I
buying
see your
gasoline,
Yes.
how much gasoline am I
Right.
allowed?
Well-
If I'm buying food, how much food am I allowed? So, I mean, when you're talking about the normal procedures.
Sure.
If I've got your card now, and I'm gonna take.
So we can
lunch.
so there's a few different types of limits that can be placed on there. One is by SIC code or NAICS code, NAICS, which is industry driven. So you might have a card and your boss might say you're only allowed to use it for gas, for meals, for, what's that? Room, that's it. And we can put those limits on that card. Now, you might have, what's that?
No flowers.
No flowers. Now, you might be in a different position in a different department, and you may have any legal purchase, so we don't put any industry code limits on that particular card. The other thing that gets done is you get, we'd say, most people are going to have some very, very reasonable limits. $1,000, $2,000, something like that. Because again, think of, if you're going to be using it, more than once, or you have that travel. The nice thing is there will be communication between the offices, and that if you need to go make a couple of big purchases or that to pay for airfare and pay for a hotel, let's say, we can raise the limit up temporarily for that particular card, keeping in mind what the aggregate is overall. Allow you to make those charges, bring that limit back down, and then pay the bill, the very next day or within a couple of days. So then you get that availability back. The same when we go to do these, these bigger purchases. There are those in the county that may have higher limits, like somebody in IT, for instance, or Jane Bethel, where they're buying, where we're buying technology from, where you have to go out and buy some of these bigger purchases in that, where we may have to raise that limit temporarily, saying to allow that purchase, or an Angie, or somebody, whoever ends up coordinating a lot of this postage purchasing, where, Alex, how much, we buy $60,000, $70,000 worth of postage twice a year for you, right? Right? And Louis, same, every month, you dump a bunch of money to the postmaster. So it's those kind of things where, again, we will walk before we run in terms of getting in a routine with this, but it's the way it's written is that, effectively for Mike and Brant to, kind of be in coordination for how these limits get set every you know, and used on a daily basis, so.
So the next step is,
So we have to advertise, we have to, and it's a just simple advertise in the paper for people to submit. We did, when we were going about this earlier in the year, we've had 3 of the banks have come in and given us presentations already. So this will open it up a little bit more if anybody else. So we did that so we could really just see, you know, what was out there. Effectively, you know, they're all the same. They all give the ability for, so like in Alex's office, let's say, if he had 2 credit cards issued, he could have a login to the bank and he could view the activity on his departmental accounts. You, the commissioners, could view the activity on your departmental accounts. Brant is the administrator, Mike, administrator for the county. Mike or me as the administrator for the program could see what's going on with everybody. But we're able to set these limits up, again, department by department, so then, you know, each office holder knows exactly what's going on with their card, you know, at any given time. So we're, you know, relative in the state, you know, just by rough estimation, probably about 20 of the counties in the state are using some sort of procurement card already. So there's a lot of chatter among auditors, you know, sharing policies back and forth. What we have here is, you know, the aggregation of what a couple of the other counties have done. So we weren't rewriting the rules or anything like that. Yeah, so.
I think if it can be pulled together, it could be as early as this Wednesday, that
We get the
ask the board to
advertisement done.
approve the short RFP.
It's not an art, yeah, it's just a.
The request for-
For
Well, it is technically
a proposal, yeah.
a proposal to.
Where the variance comes in a lot of times is what the reward limit is. So is it $500,000 in aggregate spending? Is it $1 million in aggregate spending in that? You know, when I talk to the folks in Summit County, they're using, you know, it's like $7, $8, $9 million a year they're running through their procurement cards. So, I mean, this can, once you kind of get in the routine and we have it figured out, we're not, certainly not expecting that in the first year, probably not in the first 2. This is
Did you get a sense for what they were getting reward-wise at Summit?
not off the top, no, not off the top of my head. One of the banks that was in had, I mean, they're doing their, but it's tiered. Once you get to $500,000, you get X number of basis points. $1 million, you get X more basis points, and it just kind of grows from there. So again, we primarily who will get this at first to try it out. A couple key people within the Commissioner's Authority, like a Lee, like a couple people at JFS. For us, in my office, it'll probably be Angie, just at first, to kind of coordinate purchasing not only for the office, but to look at ways that we may be able to use it for the county as a whole. And then we'll kind of push it out from there. But I was really grateful to, you know, to Parks and Health that have their own separate program right now that just said they gladly come under the county's program and that, so which is, I mean, the way we would prefer it, I think.
Yeah.
So
well, this has been a long time coming. We have a lot of people that are anxious.
yeah.
It's almost, yeah, I mean, really, if you think about
About time.
progress.
Right, so remember, when I went back through my notes, we'd had this conversation, and it was late 2011 or 2012, and there was, I think, still some anxiety amongst the board and the county's financial position at the time, probably too close to what had happened before, and the control issues there.
Well, there
and,
have been some historic instances of misuse.
you know, so we will be, I mean, this-
Diligent.
yes, to say we'll be watching every day is not an understatement in any stretch on this, so.
Alex, I apologize. I did not ask you if you had anything under the financial update. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I mean, maybe because you talked so much during our. No, I didn't mean to do that, Alex.
Not
I'm
a
sorry.
problem, not a problem.
So is there anything else that,
No.
or anything?
No, we-
we're
We're
getting
ready for
the-
second half. We've
When
had the
is that?
second.
What is-
June, we'll mail the bills out in June, mid-June, they'll be due July
July.
20th, so.
July 20th, okay. Let me
Mark
look
it on your
my little
calendars.
Calendar.
Yeah.
And August 1st, the manufactured homes.
James is correct. Mobile manufactured homes will go out probably the end of June, and they'll be due August 1st.
Okay. Anything else?
No,